Hi, Geekscapists. Welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. This is Jonathan, your host. And today, well, this is a special Geekscape. We're going to be talking all about the Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Ian Kerner is going to join me here in a little bit. So if this is your first Geekscape, it is a special. We're going to do a little deep dive on the movie everybody's talking about this past weekend, at least in geekdom. And if you want to get a little bit more geekdom, just go and listen to one of the other Geekscape episodes where we usually sit down with a guest and talk about latest news and reviews and that kind of stuff. I've had some pretty awesome shows recently. I had Jamie Kennedy on this past week. That was a great episode. It's up there on the Geekscape feed. And if you're enjoying Geekscape, go ahead and share it with all your friends. If you're listening to this on one of the podcasts, on maybe your favorite podcatcher, hit the share button. Tell all your friends to subscribe to Geekscape. And you know what would really help us out? Going and leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. That would be really awesome. I think they call it Apple Podcasts now, but you know the drill. Go there, write a quick review for us, give it that 5 stars, and also share it with your friends because this is your podcast. We want to have y'all involved, and that means get your friends in here, and we can talk about the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League together. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you haven't seen it, well, go watch it. You might love it. And before we get into the criticism discussion, ups and downs of the cut with Ian, I just want to say I think it's pretty public that I did not enjoy or even see the need for this cut. That being said, I am really glad that it exists because it creates discussions like this. And you know what? For those of you who have watched the movie and really enjoy it, I'm really glad it exists. I got to tell you, it really got me in the feels when I saw that end credit on the film. And that the fact was he dedicated this movie to his late daughter who committed suicide around the original production of the film. And dedicating that to his daughter just put it all in context. I can hate on the movie or say snide remarks or whatever and suffer through it for 4 hours. But Zack Snyder and his wife who produced the film have been suffering for 4 years after the death of their daughter. So I think I can live with 4 hours. As much as I didn't totally enjoy this movie, I think I could totally live with 4 hours because they've gone through something a lot worse. And again, I love the fact that this movie exists for fans like you who might have enjoyed it. And I also love that it exists because it gives Ian and I a chance to talk and hang out. And I'm going to let Ian lead a lot of this because, he's put the work in this week and he'll tell you all about it. Here's Ian Kerner, one of my closest friends and somebody who I go to when I'm like, yo, what's up with this movie? I need the supreme intelligence. I know that's Marvel, but the supreme intelligence of the comic book universe to guide me through this. Ian, our local supreme intelligence, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Is that an accurate the supreme intelligence doesn't know everything, does it?
It knows it's made up of a whole bunch of brains, so it knows what those brains knew, right? And whatever intel it gets. Look, I admit I've read a lot of comic books. I'm a big comic fan. I try to stay up on it as much as I can. I still consume, a great deal. Pretty much all the Marvels and DCs, a whole lot of indies. So, I think I'm a decent person to talk to about comic books. But and obviously I'm a big fan of both movies and television based on them. So,
let me start off. But go ahead, because I want you to lead this one. Yeah.
So let me start off saying this. So, first of all, usually we've had it used to be a rule. Now it's a guideline that we don't discuss our opinions before we come on and do the review. But I think I can tell the audience that you made your opinion pretty clear to me. You and another friend of ours were pretty much live texting me about your reactions as you were watching it. So I have a pretty good idea on how you felt about this. For those of you that are unclear, Jonathan did not love it. But, I shouldn't say but. Going back to Man of Steel, I'll probably use some abbreviations in case they're not clear. Man of Steel, MOS, Batman v Superman, BVS, the Ultimate Edition, UBVS. And then people call this ZSJL for Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Let's just call it the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, the Snyder Cut. That's fine. So, going back to Man of Steel, seeing it in the theater, I thought it was a good movie, but from the get-go, I felt that his vision of Superman was off. It was just too dark, too bleak. It didn't seem important that he save anybody. You know, he's so conflicted. And Superman is, you know, I mean, in the comic book world, and when you go back, look at Christopher Reeve, it's like he's unflappable. He knows exactly who he is. He knows exactly what's important. You know, I mean, he's what you set everyone else's barometer for decency and morality and heroism by, you know? And so I'm going to start off saying that going back to Man of Steel and consistently from there, I felt that Zack Snyder really just didn't get it. He's so obsessed with deconstructing superheroes as he did in Watchmen and applying that perspective, what he views as the realism, but some might say the cynicism of the real world, and applying that to DC. But what I want to say, and I believe we've done those reviews before, and you know, well, let me finish this point by saying that then with BVS, we hoped he would have learned his lesson and at least, you know, punch that up a bit. And while we did get in the original cut of BVS the sense that time had gone by, Superman's more of a hero, but he still pushed so much the conflicted stuff, and still didn't really feel that we got to see Superman really saving people. You know, I mean. There are moments, you know, and there's some that deification stuff that went on in the original cut. But then there was Joss Whedon's Justice League, and the movie was an abortion. It's so bad. It fails on so many levels. Wonder Woman came out before it, as did Suicide Squad. And Wonder Woman demonstrated what could be done with these characters when you get a sense of humor and a sense of hope in them. Because Wonder Woman was great. I think the ending's a bit B+, but I mean, you know, who doesn't cheer, at least inside, when she's coming up that ladder in the trenches?
And I do love that the director of Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins, went on she just recently did a press tour for the second movie, and she's gone on record as saying that the ending of that movie was not designed the way she wanted it. She kind of lost the battle with the studio of that one.
Well, and that's what happens, and that's what happened to Zack Snyder. So, you know, I can say definitively about this movie, and I want to give a little bit more background, but it's a far improvement from Whedon's. Is it flawed? Yes, but it's a far improvement. Jonathan's apparently not agreeing with me, but we're going to get into the nitty-gritty on this. So essentially, I made a decision. I knew this was coming out. It was, you know, widely, well, it was heralded, right? And I'd seen Man of Steel a couple times. I saw BVS the one time in the theater, same thing with Justice League. I never wanted to revisit them. I'm wearing a t-shirt. This was a giveaway at Comic-Con for people that were waiting in line for the panel for BVS long before the movie came out. Okay, so I got it thrown to me. I caught it. I wore
Did you knock out a 12-year-old kid to get that t-shirt, Ian? Let's be honest.
I don't recall. I mean, I'm not saying I did. I'm not saying I didn't. But anyway, I wore it the night I saw the movie at the Chinese theater, and I've never worn it again until today. So a couple of years ago, they put out the Ultimate Edition of BVS, which is Zack Snyder's director's cut. BVS, the theatrical version, was 2.5 hours. This is 3 hours. So I've said, you know, I really should give that a chance. I'd heard it was better. So my decision for this week was I rewatched Man of Steel. I watched the Ultimate Batman v Superman, and then I watched Justice League. I was lined up. I'd finished the Ultimate BVS Wednesday, so that Thursday came, and I watched Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League, I should say. I've never bothered to revisit Whedon's. I mean, I think I remember it well enough, and it was just bad.
If y'all want to revisit what we think, that special is still on the Geekscape feed. You just go back to the week of release, and Ian and I definitely broke down Whedon's Justice League. Yeah.
So here's the thing. I'm pretty aware of Jonathan's issues, and I'm of two minds. You know, and my joke was, you know, I feel like Schrodinger's cat. You know, depending, who knows what you're going to get when you look in the box. You know, but because in the one sense, I absolutely agree with every single criticism. But the part of me that decided I said, you know what? I know what I don't like. I'm going to embrace it. And I embraced Snyder, and I embraced what he was doing. And when you look at these three movies together, they work. They work well. They feed off of each other. I know it's going to kill you. I know how you're feeling, but I don't know if I want to call them fun exactly. but I get what he was doing. Now, I have a friend of mine, my friend Jordan, whom you know, and he said, he's struggled. He's watched Man of Steel. He can't get through BVS. He even tried this. He can't do it. And I sent him the Vanity Fair article that you sent me, and he read it, and he said, okay, I get this whole thing about what he's trying to do and deconstructing the superhero and all that. The problem is he just fails miserably, and people give him credit for the attempt. It's like a participation trophy. And I found that to be a funny comment, so hence I'm sharing it. Again, it's debatable. As I said, I went along for this ride. I know what Snyder's style is. His tendency. I mean, look, it's one big giant music video. I get that. That criticism is valid. If you go into this knowing you dislike Snyder, this is not going to convince you otherwise. If you like Snyder, you're going to be fucking happy. Okay. Now let's talk about the length. Okay. It's fucking long. Knowing what he set out to do, I don't really know how he would have accomplished this in a theater. I guess maybe he could have trimmed it down to 3 hours and still kept most of what he wanted in here. But, here's the thing. Way back when, after MOS, when they announced the slate and we heard Justice League was coming so soon, and we all said they should be doing it like Marvel. Everyone should get individual movies because otherwise, how does it work? And the answer was in Whedon's version, it didn't. So I would argue that while there are hiccups, for the most part, every one of these characters, not only did they get an arc, you came to understand how and why they got to that place that now they're coming together in the Justice League. Like you got that half of an origin story or sense of who they were without it being a whole movie. They needed to have them fight someone else, and yeah, so it took 4 hours. I mean, that it makes sense. And it did it work? I think it worked. I mean, is it perfect? No, but I think it worked. I found it mostly satisfying. I have a lot of quibbles, but again, my take on it is in embracing Snyder, which again is sort of against my gut because as a DC Comics fan, no, he doesn't get it. He doesn't get the sense of hope that should be there. It's not there. As I said in the past, MOS Superman killing, no. BVS, Batman killing and using guns, no. But as I said, embracing it, listen, a lot of people watch these things and they're not as married to the comics as I am, as you are. It doesn't bother them. They see that version of Batman is a gritty real world Batman. Could a real world Batman ever manage to not kill anybody? I mean, just throwing people through walls and stuff like that, people are going to die. It's not in the comic book, they don't, but I mean, even Frank Miller in Dark Knight Returns, I never forget, that back kick he does. He's like, oh, you just maimed that man. It's like, and he chose the move and what it would do. But the idea of controlling it that specifically, I'm like, no, you're going to mess people up. But I mean, listen, as I'm watching it this time, having seen it already, and I see, the Batmobile going right through cars and blowing up and all that. And it's like, it's fun. I mean, again, he's indiscriminately killing people left and right, but it's fun,
Yeah.
So,
the good news is you've got people who agree with you.
Yeah.
Ian is totally right. The new cut actually pays off Batman versus Superman in some ways, Jim Pellegrinelli says. He goes on to say, there's a lot in this cut that's been improved. The movie has infinitely better tonal consistency and narrative flow than the theatrical. That I agree with.
Yes, that's exactly right. Down to the opening.
Ian, I don't mean to ding the movie on tone, and I do still consider myself a Snyder fan. I wrote a defense of what was the one that the Sucker Punch. I wrote a defense of it that I know Zack Snyder actually read, and that message got back to me, which fantastic. I think that he is a certain type of geek and geek aficionado that, like you said, he loves this stuff. It is clear that he loves this
I agree.
Stuff. Does he get the core stuff? Well, I think he sees different things in it, and
this
is a representation. I think
he gets it. He just
of those things.
Yeah, he just sees it as he has a very particular worldview, and his worldview is okay. So, and that's what he's applied to it. As I said, when I first saw MLS, I was like, okay, he made Watchmen already. This isn't Watchmen. He's applying the same rules to Watchmen. Watchmen was Alan Moore deconstructing the superhero. It was intentional. That's what he was doing. So that's what Watchmen should be. A Superman movie, a Superman and Batman, Justice League, I don't feel, I mean, who am I to say it shouldn't be that? There's a market for it, so that's an argument. Listen, there have been other adaptations that weren't great, didn't like, whether they be on television or features. Honestly, things have gotten better in recent years. But I mean, shit, go back to, how about the Thomas Jane Punisher?
Sure. He has Thanksgiving with a bunch of people. Like, it's like, what? No.
I mean, this has gone on, forever, and that always happens. It's just, I think that in many ways with Marvel, Marvel gets the tone right.
Feige gets the tone right.
Yes.
And then the people he brought in have proven to also be consistent with that.
So here's the thing. Let's start into a bit of a deeper dive. It's funny to me because there are aspects of this I look at and I go like, okay, this was an effort to not be Avengers. For instance, not having the movies lead up, to do it differently and have them all in there this way. What really bothers me, and even with my attempt to really embrace this, watching MLS again, I look at the movie and I go, great. They get... It takes the alien invasion before he decides to not be anonymous anymore, and that's so contrary to everything DC. DC's always been about the mystery men, that they're out there, they're vigilantes, and you see them. Superman isn't Batman,
right? Superman, it leads by example. He needs to be public,
right? I mean, the idea was before he became Superman, he was doing this anonymous thing for years. That's existed in a lot of different versions and Birthright, a lot of different versions have done that. John Burns, Man of Steel did that. So that's been done. But the idea that adult Superman who knows who he is, who already has the suit and is still staying anonymous, and it takes the alien invasion. And frankly, when you look at this Justice League, it's the same thing. Every single one of them is so alienated by the world. They have to stay secret. They're hiding. Okay, until the big job. I mean, right? It's the same. It's almost beat for beat. It's the same thing. No one knows about them until the big invasion.
I don't get that for Barry. I don't get that for Diana. I get that for Bruce. But my worry is that he's painting all of them with the same colors, and it turns into this, which literally has a very limited color palette.
Well, by the way, I'm glad you brought up Diana, because it always bothered me in BVS. So they already knew in BVS, it was in the middle of shooting, even the photograph, they'd already started shooting Wonder Woman, right? So they were able to throw that in. I mean, BVS was shot first, but the idea, so whatever happened were the ones who decided to hide out for 100 years. I mean, like, what?
Well, until 1984.
What? Yeah, but that's just it. Like it's so, that's inconsistent. But that was, honestly, that's one of the worst things about Wonder Woman 1984 is this weird attempt to, don't tell anyone because I'm still anonymous. Why? Why is she? What the hell does she care? Right. I mean, she's like a goddess. Oh, people are going to find out. I mean, she made it very clear that her private life isn't all that private anyway. But even so, she's incognito, right? I mean, like, why can people not know that Wonder Woman exists? What's the secret about? I'm just saying, I don't get it. I don't get the anonymity. I understand with Superman the anonymity I understand the secret identity thing, protecting the loved ones, and that goes, well, that's been part of it forever until just this year with Superman, outing himself in the comics. And like, even I look at this and I think, if Snyder got to continue, but even the way that Whedon's version exists, Superman comes back to life and they've definitively killed Clark Kent. Okay, so the choice is Clark Kent stays dead and Superman is around, or do they out him? Those are the only two choices.
Well, the end of this film,
they had a body for Clark Kent.
The end of this film, you have a Clark Kent scene.
And how does it make sense?
Right. Yeah, he's buried somewhere in Smallville. Right.
Or should be, unless he's Superman.
Right.
So that's weird. So I want to talk a little bit about. So you sent me a Vanity Fair article. I don't know if you posted it, but it was one of the most comprehensive breakdowns of everything Zack Snyder went through in all of his involvement with the DCEU. And what I had always heard that he was pushed out. And then, and that the spin was about it being about, his daughter dying. And this article really encapsulated both views in a really great way. And so I have little doubt that this article was accurate, which is that the pressures were already there. Because that was the thing. I remember when BVS came out and hearing on the spot, he's getting fired. He's getting pushed off Justice League. they'd already started filming, and the executives just didn't like the tone. They wanted it lighter. They wanted it not to be, that deep dive, deconstruct everything, and everything is so morbid. One of the things that they brought up, it was an idea he had that was nixed, which I'm very glad they nixed it and never even did it here.
There's still remnants of it in this film.
Well, no, I disagree with you. So the idea was that they were going to have, after Superman died, that Bruce Wayne, Batman, got involved with Lois and got her pregnant.
Ian,
and I know what you're talking about. Shot. No, the pregnancy test is he hasn't been dead that long. She's pregnant from him. It's months. It's not years. She's pregnant from Superman. In fact, Snyder has gone on record and said that's the case. And the plan is he's actually said what the sequels would be. What 2 and 3 would be.
Exploding when she gives birth to a super baby?
Well, no. In fact, the other way is that the kid doesn't have powers.
Oh, cool.
And ultimately, the kid becomes Batman when he's grown up.
This is there's a lot of, I do consider this an Elseworlds film, and I consider the Snyderverse kind of real Elseworlds stuff. And they even celebrate the Elseworlds stuff with that epilogue. They straight up talk about alternate realities in that epilogue.
Yes. Well, so here's the thing. So I find that the thing that people have the most difficulty with this movie is the epilogue.
No, I'd given up before the epilogue.
Okay.
The things I gave up. I think that you nailed the problem I have with this movie is the approach that the Justice League needs to be a deconstruction on par with Watchmen instead of what it probably does best, which is a diverse group of characters that need to be painted with a diverse brush, and they're not painted in this film with a diverse brush. They're used with this. They're painted with a mallet. They're painted with a mallet to the point where you have really, really long sequences that do not need to be long. And you have a lot of stuff ankled into this film that doesn't need to be there. John Johns being one of them, Iris West's rescue being another one. There's just a lot of stuff in this film that works to create more confusion and noise than it does to actually throw the narrative and the character choices towards any kind of momentum. The film feels it takes those first 2 hours to begin and then the other 2 hours to end. And at no point is there anything like real collective hurdles other than the scene where they rescue Cyborg's father in the tunnel sequence, that there are any real collective hurdles that they have to get through in order to really appreciate that they're the Justice League. It feels like, and then even at the end when they become the Justice League, they made Batman climb out of that freaking radioactive tower using his grappling hook. Nobody wanted to fly him up there. And it's like, they still don't like the guy. And he flew them there, except Superman. There's a lot of weird stuff in this movie, dude.
There is. And there's a lot of inconsistencies in the movie, and I want to address some of them. Let me first say that, speaking to what you were saying and reiterating what I was saying before, the idea that every single one of them is so alienated from the world, it's like cookie cutter from Man of Steel, right? It's the same thing. Like no one can feel good about it.
It wasn't the right tone for Man of Steel.
I mean, that's exactly it.
As Andy Rattinger is saying in the comments, where are the civilians in Justice League?
Right.
Like, where are the people to be saved? Well, they weren't in Man of Steel. They weren't really in Batman.
Well, they call out the things have been evacuated, but that was my problem. Both in BVS, I remember going in after Man of Steel, going like, you got to just do some shots of Superman saving people. So Whedon understood that and did it poorly.
Yes,
we didn't cut in that stupid Russian thing, and it's just bad. It's just stupid. It doesn't work.
Right.
But so the execution was bad, but that's an important Superman part. Now, you got a little of that in BVS.
Yes.
You got a little bit of it. But, honestly, when I look at it, here's the thing. What he did is he decided to take 3 movies to get Superman to be maybe the Superman we need him to be, which is beloved and understanding what he's supposed to be about. The world has now accepted him. The world loves him. They deified him after he died, and I get it. I get the idea that it would take the sacrifice. Listen, is it a jaded view of people? Yeah. In 2021, even in 2017, I'm not sure it's inaccurate. I think there may be something really very realistic to it. It's just not what you want from, in a Superman movie. You want people to, get it and embrace him. And the view is there would be congressional hearings and everyone would be picking at it. And, oh my God, he's an alien. And is he a vanguard of an alien invasion? All that. I mean, I get that would definitely go on, I just feel like it felt so much more center stage. Like it didn't really feel like that many people were, recognize the heroism of what he was doing. I mean, by the way, didn't he, before BVS, hadn't he basically sacrificed himself, in Man of Steel because, gave himself up without even blinking and was getting pretty messed up over that. But of course, a lot of people died. So therefore, Batman had to think it was his fault because it was personal. I do like in BVS the idea of Luthor manipulating them to fight. Sure. I don't love the characterization of Luthor. I felt that, Luthor was like Joker light in BVS. And my feeling is if they had in that movie, if they had him get, a hold of the Kryptonian database and had it overwhelm his mind early in the movie, and that could have been a reason for why he's so crazy, I would have bought it because he's such a clear sociopath that how could he have not been caught before now? But
that's clearly not even Luthor then. Like Luthor's character he's smarter than Batman, but he's evil. And that's Luthor's character. And you don't actually even get that until the epilogue in this movie.
Right.
Where he's toned down and it feels like a more accurate Luthor. We've gone 2 Luthor films.
And that epilogue was the setup for what was supposed to be Ben Affleck's solo Batman movie with him against Deathstroke.
Agreed. Paul Ponte's in the chat. And when you're saying BVS, you're meaning this BVS Ultimate Edition where he actually saved people. Superman actually saved people because the theatrical version that I saw of BVS, there's not a whole lot about Superman saving anybody.
Right. But no, and again, so the Ultimate Edition is better. Mm-hmm. It's a much better movie. You still have the problem of Batman killing people, and using guns. But other than that, I enjoyed it. And I'll tell you, I'm going to admit it, even though I knew it was coming, but the tone and pacing of the movie, when he dies and Lois and Martha's reaction, everything, I cry.
Does Batman ever get Martha out of the bat plane before it crash lands? Because that was kind of weird that he's like, oh, let me rescue you. I'm going to take you on this voyage where we're going to get shot down by this alien creature on the island.
No, look,
she's kind of held hostage in the bat plane.
I had told you it was worth it. I mean, it was worth it to do it the way I did, before this and watch them all together. And now you'll probably never will. But I mean, listen, I'm wearing this shirt for a reason. I enjoyed it and I enjoyed this. I did. I'm going to be clear. I enjoyed it. You know that I did. I agree with most of the criticism.
You weathered ridicule from me all weekend because
I did. It's true. I mean, I agree with all the criticism. I mean, the odd, Scandinavian women singing for a few minutes. I was going like, seriously, but it didn't kill the movie for me. Because by the way, I hated how Whedon handled Aquaman in those early scenes with him. And this was better.
He's different.
It's subtly different. He's less of a bro. It's different. The scenes are different. The scene in the bar is different. The added scenes are in there. I think it worked way better.
And
I thought Aquaman seemed cool at that point in the movie.
The first 20 minutes have multiple scenes of female singing over slow motion. It's a Evanescence music video.
Sure.
And
he makes great music videos.
He does.
I said that earlier.
At this point, here's the thing that actually got me in watching those first 20-30 minutes. And I did not enjoy the first 20-30 minutes. I didn't enjoy the 4 hours. But again, I thought that there was a lot of stuff in there that didn't need to be in there. And obviously, like from the get-go, the tone is wrong and the treatment of the characters is wrong. Again, it's using a mallet to paint diverse characters with the same brush. But it's obvious in those first 30 minutes that this is a dude in mourning making this film. It is so about mourning in that first hour that narratively does it drag the movie down to a place.
It always was that, which I find fascinating.
But narratively, it's like it drags this movie. It feels like it's beginning for 2 hours. Well, can I forgive it that? No, I can forgive Zack Snyder for that because I understand where he is. Does it help the movie? No.
But here's the thing. So recognize that. So first of all, recognize that Man of Steel is actually, and this is a perspective I got this week. Man of Steel is sandwiching the first 2 Christopher Reeve movies together. Do you see that?
Yes.
down to certain scenes are extremely reminiscent.
Without the treatment of the character accurately.
Well, with a modern realistic take. That's a Zack Snyder take. That's what I'm just going to say. That listen, in quotes. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that was his approach. He took, and listen, most of us go, well, the Luthor plot is the bad guy in the first Superman movie, because that movie's fantastic, but that plot's only okay. And then Superman 2, the non-Donna version, is only okay, but the villains are fantastic. Like, I love Superman 2, but it's not nearly as good a movie as Superman 1. And yet I love it more in so many ways because it's just the Zod, Ursa Non stuff is fantastic, right? So that's what he did here, when he put that together and he told his version. Then BVS ends up being The Dark Knight Returns and Superman Doomsday Death of Superman, right?
Yes.
Together.
And it's messy.
But that's what he's doing.
These are two movies so far that are very messy.
And coming off that, so that beginning of Justice League, I mean, he set that up. I'm just saying to you, it's long before, he was in his position of mourning. He set up because remember, Funeral for a Friend, remember the World Reacting, World Without a Superman. I mean, this was World Without a Superman, and the Justice League trying to go on without him and going like, well, we need him. This isn't working without him. Now, here's something I don't get in the movie. Initially, I liked the idea. Okay, great. They tied it directly to the end of BVS and he died and he's screaming and that's happening. The mother boxes wake up. But then I say to myself, because they said, maybe I misunderstood this. My take was, I mean, even in the theatrical version, no Kryptonian. It was like, well, why do you care there's I mean, yes, I get there was a Kryptonian here, but it's not like there was a Kryptonian anywhere else.
Right.
Have you gone elsewhere that there was a Kryptonian? No. And what about the 4,970 years before? 5,000 years they were dormant, right?
Right.
So he's around 30 years, not even, because he wasn't an adult, How about all those years before that? Why did they not wake up and call to Darkseid?
Well, Andy Rattinger, my buddy, had a really good comment. He said, wait, Darkseid's gone and conquered 150,000 worlds without the mother boxes. Well, why does he need them?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Right.
Also, this is the planet Darkseid got his ass completely handed to him. He doesn't know where it is. He doesn't know the name of it.
And they totally.
He went there. They killed him. What? He got in a boom tube. Boom tubes don't know how to go back.
Right.
I don't understand. Did I miss something there?
Yeah, it's probably where you left it, dude.
Wait. The movie was 4 hours long. Did they leave stuff out?
I'll tell you what. I did kind of think that. Well, here's a little awkward thing that I thought it was awkward in the Joss Whedon version, and its lack of it not being present. It was awkward to me is Bruce's vision, Bruce's premonition, because later in the movie, Bruce.
Well, that's why the epilogue was important.
Right. But
whether it lands or not, that's what it's about.
But it's an epilogue. In here, you definitely 3/4 of the way through the film have Bruce tell Diana, "I had a premonition." The premonition is as bad as it was in the first, or awkward as it was in the Joss Whedon version.
Well, it's in BVS.
It's like, dude, this is not working for me.
But the first premonition's in BVS.
I know, but I don't think that a movie should require entirely seeing like that. It was my problem with the beginning of Black Panther, that you had to watch Civil War to get the inciting incident for this film.
You know what? But I know people. My wife, who since then has gone back and watched every Marvel movie with me, she literally said, "Fuck you! I want to see Black Panther. I'm seeing it." She'd seen nothing else. So Iron Man, and she loves Black Panther. But fortunately, it got her to be open to watching the others. And I'll never forget, like when she saw Captain America: First Avenger, she's like, "Wow, that movie had just as much heart and soul as Black Panther did." She was so touched by it. I said, "Yeah."
The criticism still is that the inciting incident for the film happens in another movie.
Well, I hear you, but listen, they tell you about it as exposition. I mean, look, it's an interesting argument. I think the Marvel movies do a great job of allowing you to enjoy the movie without seeing anything else, but they're much richer if you have. Mm-hmm. You get it. Fine. They told you there was something that happened before and you go along for the ride. I mean, it's a series of movies, Dawn of Justice leads into Justice League, there you go. Man of Steel. Listen, same thing. BVS shows you enough of the scenes from a different point of view of the end of MOS that you get it, but you don't get what led up to them. So you're definitely lesser for your perspective on Superman if you haven't seen LS.
Yes,
Before
and I
watching
think
BBS.
that this movie did a better job of starting with Superman's dying scream because it ties in BBS. That being said, the actual execution of the dying scream, like, it felt punishing.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I get it. I want to say that the
Ian, can you
Amazon
come
stuff
forward?
was great.
I'm sorry. Can you just come forward? Yeah.
The Amazon stuff was fantastic. I thought, especially after, Wonder Woman 1984 was a big disappointment for me. Well, I should say it was a disappointment because I didn't expect much.
Sure.
But,
We heard that it was.
yeah. But I think this is better than that.
I feel like
Jonathan's stumped here. He has to think about this.
I just feel like you're comparing microwave dinners that you don't want to eat. Like you're like the freezer, like you open the freezer and you forgot that the stuff you wanted to eat is gone, and you're left with like the 2 frozen dinners that you weren't going to eat, and now you're like, damn, which one am I actually going to eat?
Look, I don't agree. I think that if you can embrace the Zack Snyder worldview and style, that you can and get past what's tonally off for only fanboys.
No, structurally off, Ian. The deconstructed of Superman and the approach to Superman and the approach to each of these characters creates structural problems to how they exist with each other and the relationships they have with each other. The note is too narrow.
Well, let's talk about some inconsistencies in the movie.
And just to go on record as like whether or not I'm a Zack Snyder fan, I can't freaking wait for his Netflix zombie film.
Oh, Army of the Dead looks great.
Army of the Dead looks fantastic.
Yeah,
I see all of Zack's movies right away because as far as making these epics, the slow-mo, the epics, I had to watch this movie. I have to see his movies. There is nobody better at doing this stuff. And on many levels, you have to appreciate this. Yeah. And again, I'm glad that this movie exists.
I think he's technically a great filmmaker.
This movie did not work for me. I'm glad it exists because I can talk to you. I've got people talking about it. I've got, I think I'm glad that fans who love this take and loved it since Man of Steel and BVS, I'm glad that they have this movie to keep this thing alive for them.
Let me ask you this. What did you think of the Wonder Woman scene in the museum?
Where she's rescuing the hostages. Yeah. The main criticism there is that it continued the same level of excessiveness that we had in the movie leading up to it. Yes, she's a hero. She
feels the need to blast the guy through a wall. Definitely.
He's dead as fuck.
So he's dead. He's so dead that there's not even a sign of him.
I wanted it to cut back to Diana standing in front of those little girls and just have meat dripping off of all of them. Like he explodes so badly, and then that rubble probably killed a cop or two. Right. Probably just landed and killed a cop or two. But again, that is like Diana hitting all the bullets in sequence. That's fun. That's Diana.
Well, what I loved was
to put him to a wall. Not Diana.
I love the super speed of it. And what makes me laugh is so she's demonstrating because in the comics, Diana has super speed. And yet then they seem to forget about that later, right?
Mm-hmm. And flight, which she learned in 1984. Yes.
Well, no, but wait, you say she learned it in 84. I mean, even at the end of the first movie,
I know
she's flying, then she's not, then she is. I mean,
1984 has consistency problems. I think that whether or not she can fly is based on whether or not the world remembers that she's there. And I guess they just forgot that one person who won World War I for them. And then, when they forgot about her, she couldn't fly. In 1984, she's like, oh, I got to make myself public again. Now I can fly.
Right.
But I'm going to steal a jet anyway from the Smithsonian that holds fueled jets on the runway. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Why does the Smithsonian have a radio tower? Let's not ask those questions.
That's a different episode.
No, that's not. Geekscape, that episode is available for you on this feed. Just go back a few months. You'll find it. There's head scratching in it. But
yes,
it's there.
There's a bit of that. So, he did a few things in this because of, I think he was definitely trying to clean things up. The additional scene, which is the epilogue, and the John Jones of it. I felt watching it, it was very clear to me that scene with Martha, then Martha walks out of Lois's apartment, becomes the Martian Manhunter, and then becomes, was it Stanfield? The general. It was obvious it wasn't that. I mean, it was obvious that's not what that Martha scene was. And then I think to myself, I'm like, all right, well, that's how Lois found out from Martha that she lost the farm. But then she knows about it, like, is this not weird? Is there any conversation that no one's wondering? I mean, I don't know. It's a little odd to me.
Yeah, and the whole idea is Lois is the key, and Lois is the key. When Superman is reawakened, he is like relentless, kind of evil Superman, and then Lois is the thing that peels him back from going completely dark.
And that might have been enough. By the way, that alone could have been a way, and a shorter way, to have made it, hey, that's the moment. They brought him back, and he goes crazy, and would have ended up, the anti-life equation working on him, the crazy him, and being Darkseid's minion, but for Lois. That would have done it. Because to do it now later in a different movie, because for the viewers, I want to clarify this. What Zack Snyder has said is that the explanation is that, so we've seen this nightmare scene in the epilogue. That's this potential future that the Barry that's come back to give Bruce the visions is coming from, in which Darkseid comes back, he conquers the world, he kills Aquaman, he kills Wonder Woman, and he's used the anti-life equation to take over Superman. I don't understand why those other heroes aren't affected by the anti-life equation. Apparently, I'm not supposed to know that. Apparently, the idea is that somehow Lois dies. And because she's dead, he's grief-stricken, he's more susceptible to the anti-life equation, even though I thought it could just take over anybody. But anyway.
Image. You see Clark holding her like a corpse. Yeah.
So wait, so then the idea is that in the next movie, we would see that happen. And the whole movie would basically be bad Superman with Darkseid and saving the world. Just the most dystopian, horrible thing. So it'd be a whole movie of that epilogue, which I don't think we need.
And the Joker giving retros.
Right. Which
was like the dialogue. I was like, wait, that just happened? They just wrote that?
I applaud his reason for putting Joker in, which was that, hey, we're never going to get a version of, this universe's Joker and Batman in the same scene. But that scene did not work. That aspect of that scene did not work.
I think I could have gone to my grave without hearing the Joker offer to give Batman a retry.
I do like the idea that they jumped from, okay, Deathstroke's coming after Batman, and then now here we are, and at some point now they're going to end up aligned. I think that's a cool notion. Things changed, and there you are. Because that happens in comics all the time, But honestly, for me, that was enough of that. And even if they were to give Zack another movie, don't do a whole movie of that. Don't do a whole movie of that. Because then the plan beyond that was then have Barry go back and fix it. And I think you could do all that a lot quicker, And so then anyway, and what they've said is Zack's plan was, so Barry manages to go back to the right time to warn Bruce. Bruce sacrifices himself saving Lois and dies. They then have a kid. Lois is pregnant. So, Superman, Clark, and Lois have the kid. They name him Bruce Kent. And he grows up to become Batman. And it's, this is what your uncle would have wanted. He'd be very proud because he doesn't have superpowers.
Straight Elseworlds, baby.
Straight Elseworlds. There's no basis in comics for it all. It's just that was his vision. And here's the thing. Honestly, as problematic as it might be, the only thing dangling really is, okay, Darkseid's coming now with an invasion force because he can't use boom tubes anymore, so he has to bring everyone. I don't know why.
He didn't even want to walk through the gate when it opened for him.
Right.
That was kind of weird. He just stands there and watches Steppenwolf get his head cut off.
Well, I think
his forces through the
implication is they just totally decimated Steppenwolf and he's not risking himself. But I don't know why he can't just open another boom tube and bring his forces through whenever he wants. Why does he have to come with an invasion fleet? I don't quite get that. But so that's dangling. I love John Jones' Martian Manhunter. Apparently, the way he originally shot it, that would have been Green Lantern.
Sure. And the Green Lantern would have semi-worked. I do love the inclusion of the Green Lantern. My heart broke when I saw a dead Kilowog in the Nightmare scenario future. Just seeing one of my favorite Green Lanterns dead. Kilowog. Yeah. I was like, oh no, there's a dead Kilowog lying there. You got me there, Zach.
That's a statement.
Yeah, because
I literally go, where is the Green Lantern for Sector 2814? Why are they not there? Mm-hmm. And we don't know. But Earth's going to keep getting invaded. No Green Lantern coming.
Martian Manhunter felt shoehorned. Less so was Iris West feeling a little shoehorned to set up a Flash movie that I'm not confident we're still going to get.
I was disappointed because I knew that Iris West was going to be in this movie, and it was the same actress, and they're using her for the Flash movie that they're making. I think we are getting it. I think they believe they're filming already.
I hope we do.
But here's the thing: like I had the meet cute, but I expected like more to come from it, like they actually talk to her after whatever else, and that didn't even happen. So that I found that a little like, all right, that's it. Again, the movie's pretty fucking long, but I still was like, I expected a little more there.
Sure, but he had to feed the hot dog to the dogs.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course he did.
I'd be like,
because he had to get a job, you know, taking care of dogs. I mean, seriously. Like, then they get to the place of he's going to be a cop and and be in the crime lab. Couldn't they just get there quicker?
Well, if they'd have started them there, it would have been close to the origin, and it would have made a little bit more sense. There's a lot of stuff that is right. Again, is shoehorned in here that does not dovetail logically.
Well, he feels a need to demonstrate that Barry's motivation to be, in forensics comes from his father. So that therefore, instead of just telling us that was his motivation, we have to see it. We have to see him get that job. It means nothing. I mean, and this other job, to me, it's like, oh, they had to push this idea that Barry's a fuck up, but now he's going to get some focus. To me, that's not the Flash.
Ian, there's a bit of clarification I would like as well. Paul Ponte on YouTube says, I think the boxes have to be active for that boom tube, and Cyborg shut them down. Is that why we don't just have the presence of the mother box is the way that Darkseid can come to Earth?
But even just one, because Steppenwolf came.
Steppenwolf came in a boom tube. That's what I'm saying. And
so
one of them wasn't, in one of the mother boxes wasn't active.
Right. I mean, maybe one has to be active.
I don't know.
But how did Darkseid get there originally? How did the other boxes get there originally?
There were 3 of them, and they were getting spinny, but they weren't combined. And then Zeus threw a lightning bolt, and there was a Green Lantern, and he died. And the Atlanteans joined forces with the Themyscians, and there was a fight, and I don't know what's happening. It's a lot. There
were men too.
It's a lot of pop rocks and coke after reading a bunch of DC comics and then writing a script as fast as you can. No, I mean,
why is the idea that Atlanteans were already different before they had sunk?
I don't know. They were really tall.
I guess
Atlantean was tall and Zeus was tall. Was that Zeus with the lightning bolt?
Zeus with the lightning bolts and Ares.
I mean, that should have just been one of the dudes from 300. Like, shout out 300, right? And then bring in one of the owls from Garul and just have like that flashback sequence be like a straight up Snyder fest. I would have been like, this is tight.
Well, the paradigms are basically zombies. Okay, so there you go. Right.
One of the dangers, just being serious, one of the dangers of having such a limited like color palette was there were many sequences, including that one with the Amazonians, where damn, a lot of those parademons just looked like Cyborg. And there were a lot of times when I'm like, man, those parademons and Cyborg look the same in the flurry of action.
I have to say, it's funny that you bring that up because, basically the deal was Zack Snyder had a cut of the movie, more or less 4 hours. I mean, he filmed extra scenes. He did, obviously scored it. There's a bunch, VFX, but he had a cut on his computer, his personal computer that was black and white. And the original proposition from Warner Brothers was, hey, what if we just let you release that? And he said no, because he said, yeah, that's good for you guys to get all the people that are screaming for it off your back, okay, and maybe to get some interest. And then you get to go like, hey, it sucks because it's not a finished movie, and how we told you so. That's not good for me. So he insisted on, that he would have to get the money to finish it. And I applaud him for that. But I have to point out, it was a black and white movie, and there wasn't that much color correction.
No, it was still a pretty black and white movie. And you've heard like the gray version or whatever the idea was, that there's like a black and white version of this movie or this and that. I won't criticize the 4:3 thing because I get the IMAX.
Yeah, same.
That. Like,
I mean, it's disconcerting for a moment, and then I went with it. I get it.
No, it did not affect my enjoyment of the movie in any way. It did affect my enjoyment of Falcon Winter Soldier when I looked up and it was not 4-3. I was like, come on, guys. Like, let's stop thinking so small, Marvel. 4-3 this for the inevitable IMAX releases of all your Disney Plus stuff.
And getting a little bit into some of your comments, I mean, as I recall, you were pretty upset that there was actually good character development and pathos. There was humor in it. You thought that was a little bit odd coming off of having watched.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I was like, wait, what are these heroes doing being joyful? Like, I don't know. No. You should not be joyful. And I think,
joyful, even though they have plenty of baggage, plenty of shit, plenty of stuff to be concerned about, they still manage to crack a smile every now and then, make a joke.
I understand that with Cyborg, he is just dour in this movie, and I understand it. And I think that,
by the way, that's consistent.
Yes,
at the time of him becoming Cyborg, that actually works. I mean, here's the tricky thing: Cyborg's story works, but Ray Fisher's a horrible actor.
Well, I'm not gonna. I mean, listen, you should see me act. It's terrible. I'm definitely not gonna ping the dude on acting.
Okay,
but he has the best arc, and a lot of people have commented over the weekend that this is a Cyborg story. I think it's a story for all of them. I think it needs to be a story for all of them. I think you want to get.
They always said that. They always said that it speaks a lot to Ray Fisher's issues going into that whole Whedon situation, notwithstanding being mistreated. And again, that article, I think, painted a really interesting perspective on just how rough it had to be for Whedon walking into that set with as beloved as Zack Snyder was and everything else. He clearly handled it the wrong way.
Right.
Okay. But I get that it was a difficult situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I liked some of the Cyborg stuff. I think the Cyborg stuff is really good when it deals with his father, like the rescue of his father, and then the death of his father, and then coming full circle and wanting to recreate the cassette tape and all that stuff.
I like that there was a reason for the death of Silas.
Well, one thing that was really weird for me was a parademon can kind of sense the presence of a mother box. Shows up outside of Cyborg's window, but doesn't actually crash in and start looking around until days later when he kidnaps his father. I was like, no, you were getting pretty warm there, and then you took off. And
almost there.
Why can't we just get these scenes fluidly? Why does everything have to be like half scenes that build and then frustrate you? And then why can't this movie just have momentum? Why can't this thing just have a little bit more joy? You know, which is, I think, something that we enjoyed in Wonder Woman 1984, and it's absolutely what we enjoyed with Shazam, which is my favorite DC Universe movie. Yeah. Again, it goes back to that original approach. It was broken in Man of Steel. Having
he's consistent.
Yeah, having a morally ambiguous Superman does not work. Like you said, the Christopher Reeves Superman knows right, knows wrong. I think that whenever Kal-El leaves the Kent farm, he has to have Jonathan Kent's code. Even Jonathan Kent. The Man of Steel had a moral ambiguity that I think
that was the problem.
The whole thing.
He's telling him the wrong things. He's giving him the wrong message. That's not what Jonathan Kent would ever have done, said, and raised him to believe. I mean, there's the argument of, was it a Jonathan Kent in the 1910s, 1920s, or wherever you want to reset it, the 1950s for the Donna version versus a Jonathan Kent in the 90s. You can
still deal with all of the issues that you have today, but there's not an actual barometer unless that barometer is Kal-El. If that barometer isn't Kal-El and Jonathan Kent, you can't really you can't really deconstruct anything because you don't have a measure with which to do so. And Superman has to be that measure. Does that make sense? That's why
it does. And actually, let me put this in comic terms and everyone won't know this, but so DC Comics did a restart, and they did it shortly before this movie came out. I believe, I can't say this is for sure. I've had some discussions with people about this. I think they knew what he was doing with this movie because it was editorial controlled. They basically made Superman with this attitude, right? And a lot of famous old school creators left, said, no, that's not Superman. I can't do it. My understanding, George Perez said, I can't. It's just, I can't do this version of Superman. It's not right.
One of the top 5 greatest comic book artists of all time.
Yeah. And ultimately, what happened at DC Comics is they went back to the old Superman, and they ended up, I give Jeff Johns credit for basically constructing with that Rebirth special, they brought in story the idea, sort of a meta idea of what had gone wrong with DC Comics in the New 52, and it was the lack of joy and all that. And they ended up saying this meta way that there was a being tying it actually into Watchmen, arguably ironic enough that it was actually Dr. Manhattan who had changed the whole universe by changing some things in the past, by affecting in particular Superman. That was the whole thing that changed the whole course of the universe and made the whole world, the feeling of the DC universe, dour. And something was wrong and something was missing. So they've since, their efforts have been to reinstate it. But the direct thing they did is they brought back the old Superman. They straight up killed that one and had the old one who still existed come over from a different reality.
I remember.
Okay. So, I mean, what's more of a statement on it than that? And ironically, Jeff Johns, who was the architect of that, actually was in the position of executive babysitting Snyder on BVS.
Yeah, and you clearly have a little bit of a doubling down on that with the new Superman and Lois series.
Yes,
that's a hopeful.
It's good.
Superman. Yeah, I'd love to. I will get to watching it, and I'll share my thoughts on Geekscape.
I actually watch it. It's family viewing. I watch it with my wife and my stepson.
Yeah, I just, the second I heard that a lot of creators came out and said it was great, and I heard that it was the hopeful Superman, even with like the additional complications of him having children with Lois and this and that.
It's family value Superman. It's all about that. It's about him, trying to juggle the two things and what's important. They do a big thing about her father, Sam Lane, knows and is insistent how important he is, and he has to get over it. And like the family stuff isn't important, and that's why I was like, yeah, that's how you always were. And he's like, no, I can do both because my family is important.
I love that.
And that's what Superman would be.
And I'm good with DC having Elseworlds or like multiverse iterations of this. Clearly, the epilogue in this movie embraces the multiverse aspect. My question is, do we see a Henry Cavill that's not Superman, that is not kind of tied to the Snyderverse version of Superman? Because his casting is perfect.
Well, by the way,
Henry is perfect in this role.
Let's get into it.
Where does this go from here?
Definitively, I say Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Zack Snyder's casting was perfect.
Agreed.
I definitely had issues on Aquaman, but it's brought me around. He's more. When you step out of the himbo thing and just let him be badass, and it's a Peter David Aquaman, more or less. He's lacking the regality of Aquaman, which is a problem for me.
Yeah, down a couple White Claws and enjoy the Aquaman.
Yeah, Flash. I've already said, Barry being skittish, confused all over the place. I get the joke of like they've made Barry Impulse.
Yes.
And so that's a bit of a problem for me.
And he clearly exists in a multiverse with the CW Flash, because we've seen that. And it's pretty cool. And
the CW Flash is great.
Yes, sir.
So listen, if you recall, around shortly thereafter of BVS, we got the crossover between Supergirl and Flash, and we're like, that's World's Finest. Both of those shows were hopeful. That's the flavor of what you want there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we had a Crisis. And it was pretty cool. And now we have silly shows like what's the team show that is
Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow. Just like so much fun. And Geekscape is sort of discovering this. Our friend Adam is on the show, and if you go back, you're gonna get a couple of those. I think he's on an episode, and we have a lot of fun on that on the show.
Yeah, they're fun. But look, the Snyder stuff has its place for certain people. There are people that love the realism of it. They, it's badass, and I get it. I've hated. I actually, among the articles that have been out, interviews with Zach and all that, I actually really like that. I struggle with rewarding bad behavior because Zach totally owns that he wasn't part of it initially, but the release of the Snyder Cut thing, he became a big proponent of it. He does publicly say he's against the trolling. He's against the bullying. He's against the nastiness, because the one thing that's universally said about him is that he's a nice, decent guy, particularly his sets. His actors, he's beloved, but I hate the idea of thanking any of the bad behavior, because there's room for both views. I'm with you. I honestly was not a proponent of the Snyder Cut before. Once I heard it was happening, I said, okay, great, I'll watch it. And, as I said before, for me, it's infinitely better. And I'm not with you on the point of I'd rather that be canon, because I think you only gain things, you don't lose anything.
Explain that again.
I think that the Snyder Cut being canon over the Whedon version, you gain more. Yes. It's way better.
Yes.
And it's smoother, it's more coherent, and it doesn't, other than Mera's accent, which I don't understand. She has an English accent in this, except I guess the choice was we didn't really hear it before, so then they went ahead with that when she didn't have it. She
prefers the British Isles water more than anywhere else in the world. She gained the accent.
I mean, whatever, but other than that, it doesn't really contradict anything that came afterwards, so it can be canon, and and that's the thing. As much as they say it's not. Well, it's as canon as you want it to be, depending on who makes the next movie.
Who says that? Because
Zach says that he's been told it isn't.
No, I feel, and I think the fans will feel, that the Snyder version replaces the Joss Whedon version in canon.
I think what will happen is the success and the reviews of it will change that. And here's the thing:
does that guarantee a follow-up from this team?
It might, or it might just be they take threads and they run with something.
Sure.
Here's the thing: we're supposed to get a New Gods movie,
but also that Flashpoint.
DuVernay, right? And Tom King.
Flashpoint could be a way to
But both of those. It's easy to pick it up and just run with the couple threads that were there, or do another Justice League movie, and you don't even have to deal with it. By the way, you can just reference, Darkseid came, we kicked his ass, whatever. It's easy to just reference it and be done with it. But I think reference it. For me, the biggest problem with the Whedon version was knowing that Zach was doing Darkseid and Steppenwolf was a minor character below Darkseid. Now, by the way, I get the idea, and here's the thing: we didn't really say this much, but the joke of it is, and I believe you said it, that hey, once Avengers came out and they had Thanos and all that, it was like doing Darkseid. It's like, even though the two characters came out a year from each other in the comics, like. It's clearly the one company doing what the other company's doing.
Sure.
So do you really want to do that? Does it make sense? Doing Darkseid New Gods isn't the same thing. Doing Darkseid in the Justice League is the same thing.
Right.
I was kind of surprised because the whole basis of this is that New 52 Justice League book.
Mm-hmm.
Because going back to that, and as I said again, that's what this is. I believe while the comic came out first, I think they knew what they're doing in the movie, so they directed it, and so that was the plan. Whether they certainly knew with MOS, the fact that it was 5 years before Justice League or so, 4 years, I'm not sure. I suspect that Zach already had the plan that he was going that way, and they knew.
Oh, absolutely.
I think when they brought them together.
I think when the Nolan Batverse started going away, and during the time of the Nolan Batverse, Warner Brothers had Marvel had kind of like ascended as the potential.
They wanted Nolan, so Nolan's a producer. Nolan said he didn't want to do the movie again, so he picked Zack Snyder.
Sure.
Nolan's an EP.
And I get that. In both, I think he and Jonathan are involved in Man of Steel, but it's clear that Warner Brothers wanted to do this and create this whole thing. The one thing that my gripe with this ending really is a little bit of seeing Barry do the running around the world backwards.
It's Superman straight out of Superman Donna, yeah.
And I didn't love that. That being
said, I always found that a little hokey. It never really made sense to me. It makes a little more sense here that he's traveling in time, and then he just jumped back and did that.
And now we're gonna see a Flashpoint movie where that stuff really has consequences. I hope there are consequences to things in this movie. And like you said, it'd be very easy to take threads of this movie without directly doing a continuation of this narrative.
I mean, even right there, it's easy to reference it.
Right. And even though I did not enjoy this film, I'm glad it exists. I'm glad we're having this conversation. I'm glad fans are loving it. I'm glad it's something for them to do. It does not take away my Superman. I've got the Donner Supermans. I've got Superman comics. Yeah. I've got all sorts of Superman and Justice League.
But again, and you've said you would like to see Cavill just done less dour. And this movie, honestly, with it existing and being canon, it's still there's plenty of room to have Cavill do it right.
and he became that Superman in this movie.
Yes, that's my point. It's when you watch all three together, at the end of this, he's finally gotten to be the Superman you want him to be. And I think that was Zack Snyder's plan. I think he felt the need to get there, to see that he believed that, because people aren't just going to get there on their own. It has to take some extreme circumstances to get there.
Well, we can only hope, dude. We can only hope that next time we see Henry Cavill as Superman, he's the red and blue, and he's the Superman that we know. And let's see some. I want some.
Why the black costume?
Yeah, I didn't get it. He had choices, and you saw.
Other than the fact that it's out of again, as I said, it's coming out of Death of Superman when he comes back after Reign of Superman, and that's why I said to you, I was like, yeah, that was the whole thing, and the dourness. I think that was always there. It happens to work very well when you recognize that he's dedicating it to his dead kid, but I think it was always there.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, like this is going to come out wrong. The dedication was my favorite part of this film.
I
put
get it.
Everything in context. Jonathan, sorry I didn't enjoy these 4 hours. Not sure Zach enjoyed the last 4 years. This movie is there. Yeah. It is Zach's dedication to her. It's a lot of people's dedication to these characters. Doesn't work for me. Kind of works for Ian, especially in the context of the Man of Steel and the BVS director's cut. And I don't think that fandom is done discussing this thing by a long stretch. This is what fans like to do. We love to discuss this stuff.
Yeah. But for me, the ultimate BVS and this cut, I would never. The only versions I would ever watch again.
Cool.
And I here's the thing. You and I discussed this. My stepson Dash was 11. Going in, I wasn't sure. Is he ready for these? And I decided after watching, I was like, no, I'd show them to him. He loved Donna's Superman and Superman 2.
I think the first.
Batman.
I love those.
My wife doesn't think he's ready for the Nolan Batmans. You can see my Batman Begins poster. And that's in the background.
Joker throwing a guy into a pencil. I don't think you're.
No, exactly. That's exactly. She's like, no, too graphic for him.
I said it on Geekscape recently. Those first 30 minutes of Donner's Superman are the greatest superhero anything put on celluloid. It's note for note perfect. All right, man. Can we wrap up? Do we?
Yeah,
I know you and I
keep saying things, but we're
know
good.
You and I are just going to go back to the texts like right now, and the Geekscapists can't see those texts, but if they do want to be part of the conversation, they can always follow you on Twitter. You're Ian L. Kerner on Twitter.
Yeah. And you usually, if you start comments, I read your comments and things they say to you occasionally. I particularly notice them on Facebook, and you get my likes and every now and then my replies.
So join our Facebook group. We have not only a Facebook page on Facebook.
I'm in your group,
but there's a group, Geekscape Forever, that you want to join on Facebook too. And then we have Instagram.
Oh, you're not talking to me? You're saying it to them?
I'm telling it to them because Ian, you're already in, dude. You don't need to add it.
That's right. Okay, I got it.
I know that Ian's already going to go to a podcatcher and go to Apple Podcasts and put in a 5-star review of Geekscape. I know he's already going to do that. I'm trying to get the audience to put in a 5-star review of Geekscape on their favorite podcatcher. I'm trying to get the audience to hit the share button and send it to their friends. I already know Ian's going to send it to his friends. Some of them are watching this right now. Like, dude, I already know that's going to happen. Ian, I need to talk to the audience. So, honestly, if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, we love you. And if you're listening to this on the whatever podcatcher you are listening to this on, we love you too. Thanks for being part of Geekscape. Ian, closing words for the Geekscapists?
Listen, I think this movie, watching it, I think a lot of it's what you bring in with you, much like, Yoda said in Empire. I went in with a desire to appreciate the Snyderverse and the Snyder version of that stuff for what it is. If that's your mindset, great. If you're fervently against, you're probably going to stay there. There's plenty of things to criticize, but there's plenty to enjoy. I like that it's divided into parts. It enables you to, listen, it's 4 hours, but you could easily stop, go to the bathroom, take a break, whatever else. And I thought that helped make it work. So again, does it flow well as just a film on its own? I think there's pacing issues, but when you divide it into parts, watching it on HBO Max, I didn't have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. Would I in the theater? Probably.
Yeah. Especially when he gets to that 4th chapter, the change machine, and the first thing Jonathan thinks is, wait, when you say change machine, I'm going to think about a coin star. So that's the only change machine here. What if I go to a coin star and it turns out to be a mother box and I end up on Apocalypse and I become a parademon? Would you come rescue me?
No.
Fitting.
No.
We love you. That's
I love you, but no
conversation. I think the next time you see us, we're going to be talking a little bit of Falcon and Winter Soldier. That is a 6-episode series, so we'll be doing that pretty in the next month. It'll be fun.
And shortly thereafter, maybe Black Widow.
Oh, definitely Black Widow.
I'm saying the only maybe is if we're actually going to see it May 7th.
Let's go. If Marvel doesn't push it, we'll be right here at Geekscape. Yeah. We've been here for 13 years. We're going to keep being there. And as Timur says, watching from Germany, nothing better than listening to you two guys. Love it. We started Geekscape with Ian, and he'll probably kill me and end Geekscape with Ian. So maybe that's the way it'll go. When what is it that Darkseid wants? The
anti-life equation.
The anti-life equation turns Ian evil and he kills me. Well, that's the end of Geekscape.
To be clear, for me as a big comic fanboy, they got the anti-life equation in this. I internally cheered over that. Yeah. I mean, I know people are like, "Oh, what for?" I was like, because it's Darkseid, the anti-life equation. Right. I mean, that's the thing.
But then, just to warn you, Matt Kelly and Derek and Shane and Katie are going to make a team, like a future team. They're going to have like scars and like stuff like that. They're going to come after you when you turn evil. So just letting you know. All right. All right, Geekscape is Geekscape forever for Ian Kerner. Peace. We love you. Don't hate, create. Thanks.